something that, you know, people talk about social media, but even beyond social media, this panel is called Building Your Brand in 2023. We've got two fantastic, knowledgeable panelists here to give you guys advice on beyond just making music, of how you actually start to build a brand which is going to help you get noticed and move forward. Miles Shackleton from Toolroom, who's already spoken today, and Graham Farmer as well from Data Transmission. So let's dive in, guys. I've just obviously introduced you. Could you give us a brief explanation of your career so far, what it is you actually do?
Let me go first. Sure. Okay, so I started Data Transmission 15 years ago, and it's an online music mag, radio station, record label. But other half of me is I educate DJs and producers via my YouTube channel, via my Discord, via my Twitch streams, and I basically teach people everything else after you've made a record or learned to DJ, and the whole plethora of building your SoundCloud, your Instagram, your Spotify, and everything around marketing. And that's what I spend a lot of time researching and a lot of time teaching my course members on how to grow their channels.
Nice. Hi everyone, I'm Miles Shackleton. I'm a director at Toolroom. I've been there for the last 10 years. Started as the label's first brand manager, worked my way up to brand director. So my job really is to tell the story of the Toolroom brand and oversee how we bring our releases and our events to market successfully. And in addition to that, I co-founded the Toolroom Academy, which is our educational arm aimed at breaking down that barrier between new artists and the industry, and why we're here today.
Excellent stuff. So brand building and marketing in general, it's a massive area, and it can be quite bewildering, quite scary for new artists at the start of their journey. So what are the first steps that new artists should take, that they should think about when they're starting to go into marketing, but brand building?
So I think, first of all, before you even start thinking about what you should be posting and even starting your journey into marketing, social media, I'd encourage you to take a step back, actually, and start thinking about your creator phase as an artist. I think sometimes we're all under tremendous pressure to think we should be running straight into marketing. And I think as creative people, embrace that bit of that journey when you're at the start and understanding your sound. And also, I think a mistake that I see quite often with our students sometimes actually is that they work really hard on one release and do that and put that out and do a campaign and start their socials, but they don't have enough releases then backed up to keep the momentum going. So I think really having a good run of releases lined up, have a lot of product ready to go before you embark on this. Also, I'd say another step people miss, and it's something all marketers do, is really do a lot of research on your audience and having a really crystal clear understanding of who your audience is. You know, what brands do they follow? Where are they? What clubs do they go to? What artists do they like? I think if you really know that early doors, and also in terms of research, what are other artists doing that you follow on social? You know, what kind of content do they have? What's their tone of voice? What time do they post? What platforms do they use? So really spend some time on the research phase, which, as I say, in marketing is really common to do before you dive in, and embrace your creative phase and have a lot of product line up ready to go. That would be my first bit of advice. Yeah,
I agree. I think that the audience phase is, I always think of like, there's a couple of pools of audience. There's as DJs, you're going to have fans of DJs, you're going to have fans that like music, they're going to have people that like going to festivals, but you also have that other pool of fans that's other producers and peers. So your content might dictate across those two pools, and if you're pulling an audience from those two pools, then that's cool, and that's where your content should sit. And then going deeper into what they also might like is 100%.
Okay, so let's talk about social media and the channels that are out there. There's a huge array now of channels that people have to think, have I got to be on all of these? What are the key platforms?
I definitely always think do one really, really well. I think the one that's right for you is the one that's right. I think by doing one really, really well, it doesn't essentially matter which one you do well, but do one really, really well. And if that's Twitter for you and you tweet loads, that's great, because then you learn the platform, you learn other people on the platform, you build friendships on the platform. That's the one you do well, and that can still leverage everything else. Whether that's Instagram, whether it's, you know, you learn that by DMing people regularly and having conversations with people regularly, that actually gets you more reach, because you understand that those messages back and forth actually means the platform shows your content to that person because you're friends, you know, and you want the platform goes, your friends should want to see your content. But without being in that platform and being part of that platform, then you won't learn that, and you won't learn the best types of content. But from a platform's point of view, there's a kind of audio platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud. Think about those. Which one works for you? If you're really early, then is it bootlegs on SoundCloud and short form content on TikTok, because those two are aligning quite nicely right now? Is your platform YouTube, because it's got 2.6 billion users a month, and you can do a DJ max every 2 weeks that you can then cut up for other platforms, and that platform can then make you anything, because it's got the biggest audience and the biggest relevance. And those, when you go to an after party, which platform gets open and where do people listen to mixes? Usually it's YouTube. And then you think short form content like Instagram Shorts, Facebook Reels. Again, it depends. Like if your audience is, you know, 40-year-olds that want to play at and your dream is to play at Clockwork Orange, and that's a party that's really old, you know, 40-year-olds that are really into that music still, then your platform is Facebook Reels, because there's so much reach there, and your audience is there. So it really, again, it's sort of aligning all those points and choosing the platform maybe that's right for you, but also maybe the one that just you love and that's you, and let's do it well, do it really well, because everything else will fall into place afterwards.
Would you say that there is a more powerful and key platform right now where we are in 2023?
No, I think do it well, do one really well, and just learn everything about that platform. Learn what content works on there. So for instance, it's Instagram, 7-second content's absolutely killing it. Also, 60-second content's really killing it. So mixing both platforms, both those mixes of content, and learning that you need to film at 3 seconds, then change 3 seconds, then do something else every 3 seconds. But you don't learn that without watching loads of content and really studying that content. Like we spoke about reference tracks. I definitely will do reference content, and I'll definitely look at really big artists that I know have got really great social media managers. My friend Myrad manages Eats Everything and Patrick Topping, and I absolutely love everything she does. So I definitely go and watch all of her artist content, because I know that she knows what she's doing when it comes to content management. And I'll go and literally pull that content apart and go, what's happening? 1, 2, 3. Oh, something's happened there. 1, 2, 3. Something else happened. And that could be as simple as, you know, the track's playing, but and it essentially comes up with wait for me on screen, or wait for the drop. But that little 3 seconds of some text coming up makes your brain go, oh, I should wait. I should definitely wait. And then you wait, and then it happens, and you watch that whole content. But you learn that by being involved in that platform. And you'll get little help from the algorithms, because you're using all the parts of the platform.
Is generally people's attention span a lot shorter now on across these social media platforms?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one big observation, learning curve for me in my role over the last 12, 24 months is that very thing. And read a piece of research recently that said, I think it's something like on phone, when you're scrolling on social, the average amount of attention span now is 1.6 seconds per post. So that's mad, isn't it? How little time you've got to engage, and that's even true for established brands who already have that awareness. So it's probably arguably even harder if you're a new artist or a new brand trying to push through. So I think the learning curve for new artists, and it certainly has been for Toolroom, is in your content, get to the point quickly. I think sometimes there's a natural tendency when you're making content to tell a story sort of narratively. An example of that would be if we were doing an after movie about a Toolroom event, it would make sense to start with the slow-mo walk in, you put your wristbands on, and you kind of inevitably leading up to this big moment. I think that's all dead now. Like, you just get to the point quickly in your content because you've got 1.6 seconds to win the attention span. The other thing I'd say, other trend-wise that I've noticed, is something called perfection fatigue. which is that sense that people are bored of content that looks too polished. And I think, again, from us at Toolroom, it's almost quite hard if you've worked really hard on a record and you're really passionate about a record to then make content that's almost a bit DIY and lo-fi. It doesn't quite match the quality of the thing. And I think knowing producers like I do, who tend to be very type A perfectionist people, it's the same challenge. You've spent, months in the studio, then to make a piece of content that seems almost below that in quality is quite hard. But that is what people want now, because there's a whole generation of people that have been fed marketing and they don't want it. They don't want to be marketed to. They want it to feel more authentic and organic. So they're two massive learning curves I've been on in the last 12 months in terms of social. Amazing.
Are we seeing trends now as well with the type of things that artists and labels are doing right now?
I think with everything content-wise, I think there's definitely short definitely works, and I think, like I said, 7-second content works really well. But I think you can still have a 60-second piece of content that's original, and I think originality definitely works, and platforms definitely are pushing original because you've seen lots of content. There's so much of the same, and always with an algorithm, you've got to think. Like, everyone blames an algorithm for not pushing content, but the truth in the matter is it's the people, and you have to, firstly, like you're saying, you've got 1.6 seconds, you've got to hook someone. Same with a track, that hook has got to be there. So tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you're going to, then tell them that you're going to tell them, and then sometimes tell them what you've told them. Tell them about what's happened at that party. Mate, you should have seen this mad part thing that happened at the party. Then show them the party. Then go, were you there? Because then you're engaging.
Absolutely. And trends, I think, generally, I think there's a sort of convergence. I think the platforms all feel a bit similar to me in the sense that YouTube Shorts is a bit like Reels, which is a bit like TikTok. It's all essentially short form lo-fi video. Like, if that's the trend, if I was to be really to distill it into one thing. But I think what cuts through all of that is good storytelling. And that will always be true. Good, authentic storytelling will always cut through all the algorithm problems we face.
Try and get away from being sales. And when I mean sales, it's buy my new record, do this, come into my party. If you get away from sales as much as possible, because if they hear a record, then everyone knows here where to go and listen to a record, where to go and find a track to listen to. Whether you like it, you'll go on Spotify and find it. You'll go on SoundCloud and find it. You don't need to tell people where to go anymore. They know how to do that. Just build an audience of people that are into what you're doing and what you're about. Have a narrative of what you're talking about. Attach music to ideas of content, around themes of content. And sometimes it's like building series of content, because then they come back for the same series. One of my course members, he literally at the beginning of January, he said, right, I want to make loads of music in the first 90 days of this month, but I also know I want to keep building my audience. So he spent 2 weeks and made 90 pieces of content in 2 weeks. And that's all he did for 2 weeks. And then for the next 3 months, he sat around making music because he'd done all his content. He just put it out every day. And all he did was the same series every day, 5 records from a label. And on the weekend, he basically picked 5 really big tracks that would go off at the weekend, because people want to hear different music at the weekend because it's the weekend. But during the week, it was like 5 tracks from sometimes labels that he wanted to be on, sometimes labels that he loved. Some of the responses were he'd get tons and tons of views, and that was cool, and tons of engagement. Sometimes he got really low views, but the label messaged him back and went, thanks for doing that, or the artist messaged back, thanks for doing that. And then those are the ones that he actually wanted to release music on, and he's now got a direct messaging platform with them and a direct contact to them just because he started this content series. And then the big ones just bring in more fans and builds audience based on what he's doing. But kind of building a series makes it, and as you know yourself, you watch Netflix, you watch whatever, you like series. So it's kind of taking that series mentality and putting it into your content.
That's really interesting. We'll come back to some more content ideas in a minute, but what I want to talk about now is the roles of the platforms are one thing, but how do you actually go about starting to build a brand as an artist? What is a brand? How do you become a brand?
Yeah, it's a massive question, isn't it? I think, I guess there's a tendency, isn't there, to just go to logo and go to aesthetics. You know, I speak to lots of students, and I think oftentimes there's this kind of tendency to, once they finish their music journey or embrace their creative phase, to go, right, I'm going to build a brand, get a logo designed, and as if that's kind of enough. I think visuals are important, but a brand is so much more than that, isn't it? A brand is, the Nike brand isn't just the logo, isn't just the tick. It's the fact that they make you feel empowered to do exercise and tell amazing stories about that all the time. And the reason we're doing this and we want to set up a brand as an artist is you want to build an audience, and audiences are going to be inspired by really good stories. So what I'd suggest you do is, as a kind of piece of practical advice to go about building your brand as an artist, is something we call a brand DNA exercise, which we do at Toolroom in the main label. And this is simply a process by which you think about interesting parts or passions that you have, and you write a list. So, for example, we work with an artist called Weiss, who sounds German. He isn't actually. We gave him a German name to sound cool, didn't we? But he's actually from Surrey. So anyway, he's a house artist that we managed initially, wrote Feel My Needs, which you guys might know, massive record. Anyway, when he started, he had 0 followers, someone who didn't particularly like social. So it was a bit of an effort and a journey to get him to build a brand. So we did a brand DNA exercise for him. As I say, it's just a list of things that he's into. So if you were to do this for Vice, I'd say first thing, he's really interested in like Batman and science fiction and Marvel and DC, right? So that's one thing. Second thing, he loves Chicago house, like original Chicago house, and you can hear that in his music. Thirdly, real big family man, loves being around his wife and his kids. Fourthly, loves analog hardware, studio stuff. So that's 4 things. And what you can do with those things is then draw out content ideas from those passions that you have. So, as I said, he's really into Batman and Marvel. Once we'd established that, we'd go on sites like Pinterest and Tumblr and search things like Batman house music or Batman vinyl and get some really interesting imagery. And then, as I said, he's a fan of Chicago house, so we'd pull out records from his collection and call it Wax Wednesday, and he'd write a little bit of blurb about why he loved it so much. Or equally, we'd find some really cool vintage posters from mid-80s Chicago. So what you can do is you can draw and derive content ideas from yourself, because good marketing just comes from truth, essentially. But once you place that kind of artist DNA brand content alongside your more regular, this is me in a studio, this is me DJing, that's when you start to become an artist, and when you start to become a brand. And I've seen firsthand that switch that comes when an audience feels they know an artist. There's this really weird tipping point you get where you're someone who's DJing, just another artist, to when the crowd, just a few people, kind of recognize you. And I think part of that comes from them knowing you from your storytelling as well as the music, obviously.
Definitely, because I think if you go back to the earlier days of social media, everyone was all trying to be the same thing. Everyone was trying to have everything polished, all do these same after movies and think, right, I've got to make myself look like a megastar. Yeah. And what's actually working now is people just being more true about who they are, so that you can actually get to know. Because at the end of the day, that's what social media is. We're all nosy, right? We're all nosy as humans. We want to know what other people are up to. You start looking at someone's holiday photos that you don't even know. You're flicking through Instagram or Facebook, you know. We're nosy as human beings, and that's what you want as artists. You want to get to know them.
Yeah, it's content research when you're flicking through someone's photos. That's what I find it as. Yeah, I agree. I think just, and with that content, you just got to think about which parts of the platform you're putting on, because certain things will work on certain parts. Think about what goes on the feed, because when people land there, they want to be about the artist. Some of the other stuff, the family stuff, can live on stories because that's 24-hour throwaway. I think, and that's where you build the relationship. The way, you know, from an Instagram point of view, that's how stories work. They show to your nearest fans and your regular fans. So that's where you build that deeper relationship with stories. Your feed can be more music and analog and the stuff that you want to be known for and the stuff you're about. But I always think from a content point of view, like, each of you know so much music, and that's a very easy piece of content. Whether it's Chicago house or whether it's the records that you were playing when you played forever, that's easy content. Like, pick 5 records that you like this month and tell me about them. Pick 5 records that inspired you to make the record you've just put out. 5 records that I want to hear in Ibiza this summer. It's very simple, and it's that sometimes it's overcomplicated content that's it takes you longer. It doesn't build you an audience.
Apart from sort of just making, videos yourself on your phone, are there any content making tools out there that are good right now at the moment?
Yeah, I like Canva. I use it a lot. I use it for pretty much everything. I like a thing called CapCut. It's an editor which just works well. InShot's a great editor as well, but I tend to use Canva a lot. I have a team that edits stuff when they use Premiere. But again, the phone editors are definitely good. I try to film everything on my phone so that I can then put it into an editor. I'll take shots on my phone and I'll put them into editors, or I'll put them into the actual apps. And then because then you can use them across all platforms if you need to.
From a record label perspective, I just want to say I love working with artists who have some good content creation abilities. Crucy was just here. He's an absolute dream to work with, and one of the reasons, apart from his music, which is amazing, one of the reasons why he's being pushed so much through the brand is because he works so hard on helping us promote his music. And even when you're a label of, say, Toolroom size, which may or may not be, your ambition to achieve of that scale to get a signing to the size of Toolroom, it's even harder at our size to resource the amount of content we'd love to do on each record. So my team is actually quite lean, even though we're one of the bigger indie labels in the scene. So when Crucy comes along and makes an amazing reel that's showing the start of his the creation of a song through to it going off in a club, or if he's just always there to suggest ideas and actually then make the content, it's such a good thing to have that. And it, as I say, it's one of the reasons why we're pushing him so much, is his attitude is absolutely spot on, and we love working with him.
I think when you get to that point, when I think with all content, just start doing something, start trying something. I always think with everything, the first of everything is rubbish, and then the second one's rubbish, and the third one's rubbish. And it takes forever. Like when you make a track, it takes forever, and the first one always takes forever. The same with content. You'll have an idea, and then you'll sit there, and it'll take you a week to film this bit of content, and you'll go, bloody hell, that took ages. But you've started doing it, and then the next one gets easier and easier and easier. And don't try and go to whatever suggested the posting strategy is for the week on whatever platform you're looking at. Just try and do one a week, and then and just make that one the best it can be. But also realise it'll be rubbish. And then look at it and go, why was it rubbish? Go back and literally look at it as yourself and go, would I swipe? Would I be hooked by it? Would I watch it? Is there as you breathe in at the start of it, that I could have trimmed off, so it goes straight into the punch, and then you've got that 1 second straight in? Is there something that's just boring in it, and then edit that bit out, and then you can reuse it as well later.
Good advice. Is there any particular artists out there right now, I know you mentioned Cruzy, that you follow, that you think are rising through the ranks or have been around a while, that really nails social media? And why? Why is it they nail it?
I'll give a couple that I like. So they're both Toolroom, I'm a bit biased. So Friend Within, I think, is great. I don't know if you guys know Friend Within, but visually he's quite easy to spot. He's got like an old-fashioned moustache, which helps because there's a kind of visual identifier. But his content I like because he's found his niche, he's found his groove. He's really funny. He's got a really dry sense of humour, and he's really good with like outboard analog studio gear. And he's kind of fused those two passions and interests and abilities to make just really funny studio short form video content. And he's also got quite a dry sense of humour. So he's good on Twitter at just writing things, and then he'll screenshot that and put it on Instagram. So he's quite clever at like cross-platform stuff. He plays to his strengths. Secondly, Maxine, who's a female artist we found through Toolroom Academy, actually. And the reason I like her marketing strategy generally is that I felt like from the beginning she played the long game. She presented herself as more of an international artist from day one, rather than going for kind of easy wins that she could have done on Instagram by kind of attaching herself to just the UK tech house scene, which would have been probably more low-hanging fruit in terms of gigs and signings. She kind of went, no, I'm an international act. So there was a kind of, I don't know how to say it, more of a class and elegance to the way she presented her content. And also, I think being so friendly and approachable with fans, she's really known for that. So she comments and replies to all her comments. And so she builds on this kind of granular level an incredibly dedicated and loyal fan base who feel close to her, feel connected to her. So she's really cleverly built an audience through those qualities.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll pick two as well. Then I like Amy L. Her content's slick. It's simple. It's just her. For a lot of it was just her DJing and showing skills. And she built an audience of people that wanted to see her DJ. She's only released maybe 3 tracks over a 2-year period, but she gets gigs all over the world because she's built an audience of people that want to see her DJ because they like what she's doing in her videos. And that worked on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Again, it's really, the content-wise, it's simple ideas. It's just, I'm going to show you some tricks, and it's going to be short, but they're going to just be really cool tricks. Or there'll be 3 tracks, again, that I like to listen to, and then you'll want to go and see her play because of that. My second one is Patrick Topping. I think he absolutely nails it. He speaks to the camera. He mixes his content strategies. I really like what he does with Instagram carousels, that it's not every part of that carousel has some value, and every part of it is whether there's a mix of media as well. So it's not just a video, or 4 shots of me looking the same but in different directions. I always think that's a waste of a carousel. I think it's a video, then a picture, then a video. And by doing that, again, it does something weird with the brain where you'll watch it, and then you watch the video, and then you'll swipe and go, oh yeah, that's quite a cool picture, and then you'll swipe again, and there'll be a different video. And that kind of just that mix of that media really does something interesting with your mind and how you watch the content and how you devour that content. But I think it's great. His is all about community, and a lot of his content will have his fan base in there, and have the people that he's at his gigs, and he'll do content with his gigs. So then, as members of that community, you feel part of his community, and you're valid as that community. He has a great Discord called his Trick Chord as well, where he's in there regularly talking to his fan base and listening to records in his Trick Chord, and that again is a great community for that.